2007, 37 firefighters responded to a call from a panicked employee held captive by a fire in a furniture warehouse in Charleston, South Carolina. After rescuing the employee, the firefighters became disoriented and could not find their way out of the building. Their calls for help were not heard. Within 40 minutes, the fire had claimed the lives of 9 firefighters. Every day, members of the fire and military services put their lives on the line to save ours. But who is protecting them? This tragedy, along with countless others, could have been prevented with adequate technology that, until now, had never been accessible. Good morning, I'm Karina Dries, COO of TRX Systems, and I'm here to introduce to you TRX's patent-pending indoor tracking technology. The only reliable tracking technology on the market today is GPS-based. However, as we all know, GPS only works outdoors, and even around large structures will contain a lot of errors. Once a person enters a building, however, we lose all visibility to where that person actually goes. TRX uses integrated positioning to be able to track a person seamlessly outside and inside of a building. Our system works with 3 basic pieces of hardware. The first is a tracking unit worn around the waist, which detects movement and monitors condition. This information is fed to a data radio. The data radio is worn by every person in a building and forms a mesh network to ensure that all personnel are connected to the network at all times. This information is fed to a third piece of hardware, which is a base station, simply a laptop computer, located on the truck right outside of the building. The beauty of our system is that it's completely mobile. It requires no pre-installed infrastructure on any building. This is a brief demonstration of how our system works using an electronic floor plan. As you can see, when a person moves throughout a building, even as they go up and down the stairs, it'll change the floor plan accordingly. If a person stops moving for a certain period of time, it'll send an alert back to the base station indicating that he may be in trouble and need to be rescued. One of the key pieces of the TRX system is our ability to generate maps when electronic floor plans are not available, which is typically the case with today's limited technology. This is just a basic demonstration of our map generation software. We're developing this technology in response to significant market demand, which is increasing primarily because real-time location-based information is being demanded. Our first market is firefighters. Once we've proven the technology in this market and in hazardous environments, our logical second market is defense. We're currently working on contracts with the Army and with the National Geospatial-Intelligence Agency. When the cost of the components comes down over time, the additional market potential for this technology is enormous. So why firefighters? This is a question we're asked quite often. There are 3 main reasons for this. First and foremost, they have the greatest need for this technology. On average, in the US, every week, 2 firefighters lose their lives in the line of duty. And a primary reason for this is very poor visibility conditions inside of smoke-filled buildings. Tracking inside buildings is a really difficult problem to solve, but TRX has the solution solving this problem. A common misconception of fire departments is that they simply don't have any money to be able to purchase a system like this, but this is actually not the case. Since 9/11, DHS has been focusing on their Fire Act Grant program, and in the past 6 years alone, they've allocated over $3 billion to this program. This funding is given directly to fire departments to be used at the discretion of the fire chief, specifically for firefighter safety equipment. And third, and perhaps the most important reason for TRX, we have the relationships in this market. We have a lot of customers interested in us. We have successfully demonstrated the system to a number of fire chiefs across the US and received incredibly positive response from them. This has become a really high priority in fire services. We've secured a beta contract with Maryland Fire and Rescue Institute, which will be rolling out in the coming months. We demonstrated the system to the Metro Chiefs Conference back in April and mentioned that we'll be rolling out a pilot program. We instantly had some of the nation's top fire chiefs approach us at that conference saying they wanted to participate in this program. Our initial targets are the 125 large metro departments in the United States, and our beta targets are Washington, D.C., Chicago, and Phoenix. There are a number of smaller departments that have funding available today to purchase a test system. These are just a couple of examples of departments that have contacted us with funding available today to purchase these systems. Our initial military focus will be the 32,000 Special Operations Forces in the United States. I want to want to talk briefly about what firefighters use today and some of the newer technology that's coming to market. Firefighters in the U.S. are required to wear a PASS device. It's federally mandated. It's a unit that costs about $500, and it simply sets off an alarm if a person stops moving or if they're running low on oxygen. The PASS device does not have any kind of tracking or location capability whatsoever. In fact, we hear a number of stories from fire chiefs about PASS alarms going off inside of buildings when men are down. They've got rescue teams right outside ready to be deployed, and although they can hear the alarms going off, they have no idea where these men are, and they end up staying trapped in the building. A step up from this is a homing device, which works very similar to a metal detector concept. If you walk through a building, you can detect a signal that way. A few companies, including Motorola, are developing triangulation-based systems. There are a couple of main problems with triangulation systems. One is the setup time. It requires a number of antennas to be placed around a building. And two, triangulation systems won't work effectively in large structures, so it's just not going to be feasible for this market. Some of the newer technology coming to market is inertial-based, but even though it is some of the newer technology, it does come with its own share of challenges. So the question often comes up, if there's so much demand in the market, why hasn't anyone developed this yet? And the answer is very simply, this is an extremely difficult problem. I mentioned the inertial technology and some of the newer technology coming to market. One of the biggest challenges with inertial systems is determining elevation, so determining the third dimension. We've solved this problem, and we have patented methods for this. Another big challenge for inertial systems is the amount of errors that will accumulate over time. We've solved this problem, and we have patented methods for this. We are the only company developing map generation software as part of our comprehensive solution. We have a team that is dedicated to deliver low-cost and feasible to the customer advisory board with very well-known and respected advocates for TRX. Our management team has been working closely with fire services personnel to ensure that we are developing the best solution for them. Our advisory board consists of a representative from the Firefighters Union, the former Deputy Administrator of U.S. Fire Administration, the Director of Maryland Fire and Rescue Institute, and the Fire Chief of Washington, D.C. We've secured nearly $2 million in government contracts and in-kind services since our founding. We've been able to develop a prototype system with this. In addition, we have secured $425,000 of private funding, of which $325,000 is from angel investors. We recently won an award from the state of Maryland for $100,000 in their DBED program. Just this year, we won an SBIR Phase 2 from the National Science Foundation for $500,000. The NSF has a program in which they'll match funds 50 cents on the dollar, so if we're able to secure $1 million in equity financing, the NSF will give us an additional $500,000. This is a brief snapshot of our financial expectation over the next 5 years. I mentioned we'll be entering the military market second. By 2013, roughly half of the revenues represented here will be from military sales. So I said that with the funding that we've received, we've been able to develop a prototype. This prototype is highly reliable. It's resistant. We've gone through a number of tests with it. It's very small. As you can see, right now it's about the size of a deck of cards and gets smaller with every iteration. With that system, we've been able to validate it in the marketplace. I said we were working closely with fire services, and this is exactly the system they're going to want to use, and will integrate very easily with their current procedures. With the funding from the Global Security Challenge, we will use that money to complete additional testing in real-world environments. We'll be able to complete the ruggedization, and we'll be able to complete UL certification, which is necessary for firefighter equipment. The NFPA certification is expected to come out in about 2011, so we're keeping an eye on this to make sure that we're in compliance with this as well. Just a few key points to sum up. We've been told by a number of organizations that we're poised to be first to market. We're a year, possibly 2 years ahead of the competition. We have already secured a beta contract, and we have a very prestigious advisory board giving us advice daily. In addition to the Global Security Challenge, some of the recent accomplishments include being named Maryland Incubator Company of the Year in Homeland Security, and the Maryland Department of Business and Economic Development program, in which we just won an award for $100,000. I'd like to thank you for your time, and Carol and I look forward to your questions.